So we will begin the volunteer training in just a minute. I'm now starting to talk more as a signal to the people outside the doors that this is about to begin if people are going to come in. There are some slides, yes. You don't have to look at them, but there are some slides. It's invitational. All right. Thank you for those who are here on time. I'm going to go shout one last time out there into the commons and then close the doors. All right, so welcome to this, our monthly all-volunteer training, which is, I'm leaving the last one open for a couple more minutes. Yeah. So this is being recorded in addition to being live and our folks on Zoom. So thank you all, whether you're watching it now or later. And we will begin by lighting a chalice today. Our chalice lighting words are by Pat Uraby Lichty. The chalice we light today is a symbol of our faith. It binds us together as one people, a reminder that our strength is in our shared hope for the world, and that our common work is the creation of beloved community among ourselves and in the world. Oh, I don't mind at all. All right, so I think it is. I'm testing it. Yes, okay. So today's topic is really the basics. It's who and how and what you would want to do to just get something done around here at OUC. So this is a really basic training for anyone, current volunteers on current teams, or those who are interested in trying to get something done that's not already happening. And it is part of a series of trainings that we've been doing. We started this last year. And so all of the volunteer trainings that we've held have been recorded and are available on the OUUC website. So you can find the trainings here at ouuc.org/learn/volunteer training. And on that webpage, there's all the past trainings, and then once this recording is done, this training will be up there as well. So if you're wondering, maybe there was already a training on that subject, there might have been. What we will cover today is we'll be covering staff contact information, so who to contact. We'll be covering the teams and the latest org chart. We'll be covering, is it board, is it staff, is it teams, is it the minister, who should we talk to? We'll be talking about how to do effective email communication, because that is our primary OUC form of communication for most things. We'll be talking about how to get the space use and the tech stuff and money stuff and communications stuff, and then any other specific questions that people want to bring up. So, first off, staff contact information. So we've had our new website launch, and it is pretty great, except with anything, you can expect some typos, glitches, and bugs. So if you find anything like that when you're trying to navigate the website, please do let us know, because we can't fix them if we don't know they're there. But the staff contact information can all be found under About Who We Are Staff in the website menu. And our staff mostly work part-time hours. So do plan ahead on what response time you need when you reach out. But all of the staff phone numbers and emails can be found there on that page of the website. The current office hours, when there are staff guaranteed to be in the building, are Tuesday to Thursday, 10 to 2. But there are many other hours where we are here, so do reach out and just see if there's a need to get into the building or to get somebody in person. Okay, so this is more just to show you like, whoa, than to actually be readable. This is the new org chart that I just got from Susan Moon, our board president right now. And as you can see, there are a lot of teams within the congregation. There's a lot going on. And so when you're wondering how to get in touch with someone, the main thing is that there are staff leads or liaisons for each ministry area. So we have up here in the top left, the spiritual life ministry is Reverend Mary. So Reverend Mary works with all of these different teams: worship, pastoral care, caring friends, memorial services. All of those fall under spiritual life. So if you're on any of those teams and you're trying to figure out, you need help with something, how to navigate something, Reverend Mary is your staff lead for that ministry area. The middle there, you see my teams. So I'm working with anyone in faith development ministry areas, faith and action ministry areas, or community life ministry areas. So if you're in the adult faith development, you're working with young adults, small group ministry, any of these, I would be the staff liaison and lead for all of those teams. Yes, 1 second.
Well, I can shout. No, they were a teacher, I can yell. My question is, how can we get copies of this organizational chart?
That's a great question. It's not posted on the website yet because it's still in draft form. So as soon as I get the AOK that it can go out of draft, then I'm going to get it posted.
But it'll be online.
It'll be online, and we can do printed copies, a few as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does someone want to hold the microphone in the audience?
Oh, yes. Would someone be our helper? Thank you. Thank you, Arlene.
I have a question. Is everything on the left-hand corner under Reverend Mary, including everything underneath the green financial team, all the way down?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is why it's in draft form. So one thing I immediately see is that the environmental action team is in the wrong place. So environmental action team should be under my column. So if that was done, if that was moved over, then yes, everything on the left would be under Reverend Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon.
I'm not sure if I'm just missing it because it's small, but is stewardship on there?
Stewardship is over under the board. Yeah. Yeah, so what you'll notice here is that under the board, there are committees. This is the technical thing, why some of us are teams and some of us are committees. Teams are in operations, committees are in governance, so committees are under the board, teams are under a staff liaison. Now, that's if everybody has actually named themselves properly. So don't, some like to be a team even though they're a committee, some like to be a committee even though they're a team.
So the team goes with what?
So the team, the question was, the team goes with what? The team goes with operations side of the things. Yeah.
So the sabbatical committee was not a committee of the board. It was actually a team, but they wanted to call themselves a committee.
Yeah, this is why I'm saying that if people are actually using the nomenclature, then this is what it means. But if somebody's just like, well, it sounds better to be a SABCOM than a SABTIM, yeah. So,
Okay, I have a question. What if you don't know what all of those programs do? Where do you look for that?
that is a great question. So we do have, most of these have some information listed on the website, but it's not perfect yet, and probably never will be, sadly. I'm not aiming for perfection. So if you are unsure what any team does, reaching out to the staff liaison for that area and asking would be the easiest way to get the information. Yeah, some of them have good definitions on the website and some of them don't. Yeah.
The one down, sorry. The one down justice, what?
Yeah, that, it just is a catch-all. It says justice-focused groups. So that's any group that is working on a justice issue. So we've got our anti-racism, anti-oppression team. We've got our economic justice team. Those would all be justice-focused groups. Yeah.
And the environmental action team goes in there.
It does, yeah. So the environmental action team is in the wrong spot on this. Like I said, this is still in draft form. It's capturing some of the complexity. Any other questions while we look at this one? Okay. So, who do you need to talk to? This is, like I said, if you don't know at all, the best thing to do is to approach the staff person listed for that general ministry area. And if they aren't the right one, they will help you get to the right one. Yeah. And again, all of that information for contact for staff people is on the website. If you know what team you want to talk to and you have access to Realm, the contact person for that team is listed in Realm also. So if you're trying to get a hold of the chair of ushers and greeters, hospitality, that should be the contact person that's listed for that group in Realm.
Just one caution on that. My team committee just took over a realm that had 6-year-old data on it. So some groups use it more than others. So if the person who was listed didn't even know they were listed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, all of that comes with a note of caution, because with all of these teams that have changing leadership, it doesn't always stay up to date in what's listed and what information we have. Yeah. So that's why I also advise, if you are trying to get a hold of somebody within a ministry area, you could start with the staff liaison for that ministry area. The other thing that comes up a lot, especially for folks who have either been here for a long time or are coming from other congregations that function in different ways than we do, is I get asked a lot, well, don't I need to run this by the board? And no, most of the time the answer I give to people is no, you don't. So some congregations, if you're used to coming from a smaller congregation, sometimes the board is in the weeds, like in the weeds of things. And our board is not in the weeds anymore. So we are, we're in policy governance. The board is doing visioning. The board is doing governance and policy work. The board should not be the person to ask about, like, should we get brown or white paper towels? That's an in the weeds, like that's deep in the weeds question, right? So if the question is, should we get brown or white paper towels? It's the kitchen team that we ask that question of, not the board. And I saw a hand here.
Thank you, Sarah. I have never heard that expression in the weeds before, and I would really appreciate you to state it one more way, if you would.
Yes, so without the metaphor, it's the day-to-day small decisions, the minutia of how we actually do things that the board doesn't need to do. That's why we have teams. That's why we have staff. That's why we have, folks who are at that level of concern with their hands on it. And that's who we go to with a question about that. Yeah, anything else about that question? I don't want to put you on the spot, Arlene, but as a board member, what kinds of questions would you want to receive on the board?
We have to approve fundraisers. So if you want to do a fundraiser, you want to sell Christmas cookies during service in September, and you don't just come to us and say, we want to sell Christmas cookies. You have to say, we want to do it on this Sunday or these 2 Sundays. The money is going to go to the hospitality committee to buy coffee and whatever. And if you've got a defined motion that we can vote on, we can add it to our agenda at the board meeting. We don't do it in between board meetings, and we don't do it over email.
Yeah. So if I could go back to my napkins example. If we're concerned about whether we're going to use brown or white napkins or any other napkin-related question, that really should be settled at a team level, the team that handles napkins. We don't have a napkin team, but we have a kitchen team, so we would go to the kitchen team. If the question was, can we fundraise in order to get some really beautiful linen napkins, at this point, we need to have approval for a fundraiser, right? Because now it's a new money issue. It's not really a napkin issue anymore. Now it's a new fundraising issue. So it doesn't matter what the fundraiser's for.
And as a board, we can say no, because there are already 3 fundraisers scheduled that month. Mm-hmm. And we don't want fundraising fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for the most part, when you are wanting to do anything, start at the most directly close to the issue at hand, team or staff person, and get them involved before things climb to other levels of looping in other levels of involvement, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Because I would say we're a bottom-up organization, not a top-down. So you have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah. So we have an online question. Yes. So could we please change the adult education team, I'm assuming on the org chart, Linda, to the adult faith development team? Yes. That's another edit that can happen on that org chart. That is, we'll send that note to Susan. All right. The other thing that you want to think about is, are you working on an existing project, or is this a new idea that doesn't already have a project going for it? So if it's an existing project, then that means somebody's already doing it, and you should connect with the people who are doing it. So consult the team or the staff that are already working on that. If it's a brand new idea and you're looking to form a new team, there is a process for that. But you should start by talking to the staff lead for the ministry area that your team would fit within. So if it's a new idea for spiritual life, you need to talk to Reverend Mary. If it's a new idea for education programs, faith development programs, you need to talk to me. And then we can start to go through, well, how would we get a team started? What would be the purpose of this team? Are there enough other people interested in being on such a team? Things like that. But if it's a brand new idea that doesn't have an existing team that would cover it, then you would come to the staff person for the ministry area that you think it would fit within. Yeah. And so those were all of my who topics, and now these are the hows. And I see some laughter. Yes. So effective emails. Our primary mode of communication right now within the congregation is we mostly all email each other a lot. We all email each other a lot. So this can be a really good method of communication. I'm Gen X. I'm not anti-email. I love email. But there's some ways to do it and some ways to not do it. So don't CC the staff, or I'll add anyone else, on everything, right? The more that you're CC'd on, the less you can actually pay attention to. So it becomes a diminishing returns issue. It's a little bit like the story of the boy that cried wolf. If you're constantly hearing somebody yelling wolf, 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 you just tune it out. If you're constantly seeing a whole stream of emails, it all starts to become part of the landscape. So fewer CCs would be helpful. Another thing is that subject lines, if the topic of your conversation has changed as you have gone through it, at some point you should change the subject line of the conversation. If the one thread that started with cookies on Thursday is now actually about a Christmas party 9 months from now, it should no longer have the subject line cookies on Thursday. And this tends to happen with our teams, and they all get lost. It's not just, yeah. If you need something from one person, start a new email just to that person. Don't tuck the request for that person down in the body of an email response that was to a whole bunch of people. So, sometimes people have a tendency to do this where they're like, yes, we should absolutely all have cookies on Thursday, and don't forget the gluten-free people, and oh yes, I still have Jim's tablecloth, and Nora, would you make signs and post them? But Nora's not going to see that down there at that point, right? So just send Nora a brand new email. Use clear subject lines, and you can indicate the priority and deadlines for something in the subject line of your email. So reply before Thursday. Deadline, November 15th.
Would you not use the importance little tab up there for high importance?
The tabs are fine. Those are fine also. This is more of a personal preference thing. I like to have the actual date that this is referencing right in the subject line, but others might feel differently.
It deals with the fact that a lot of people won't even open your email, but if it says, agenda for the meeting on Tuesday the 2nd at 7, you've given them a lot of information before they even open your mail.
True. Yeah. All right. It looks like we have an online.
Actually, I misread that. Never mind.
Oh, never mind. Okay, not an online. Yeah. Anyone else want to add anything about email communication? I mean, I know you all struggle with it because this is something we all do. Yes.
Should we try to use Realm instead of other email programs?
That is a tricky question, and it's going to have a bit of a tricky answer. So some of our teams have not successfully gotten all of their people onto Realm. And so for those teams, it's still not working, because if people haven't gone in and said, yes, I want to be notified and receive notifications, then they're not getting the communications. Realm is a wonderful tool if we want to actually have institutional memory that isn't in individual people's inboxes, Google Drives, etc. And because leaders come and go and change, if everything is in the former chair's inbox and was never stored institutionally for OUC, it makes it hard with secession and passing off of that institutional memory. So I encourage people to use Realm and to utilize things that are going to be stored centrally, but some of the teams are still struggling with that, and if that's the case, sometimes they have to do both, and that's hard. See, Sharon.
If you do have a team where everyone's on board with Realm, another tip is there's 2 ways to send an email, and one is to make a post in your group, and one is to just send the email. If you do the post, people get an email, but it's also there that someone can go find it there. So that's preferable if you're in that situation where everyone's on board with it.
Yeah, so utilizing the post feature in Realm saves the stream of communication. So again, it's a storage and institutional memory to do that. Any other email communication related questions? All right, then moving on. So now I just have a few of the most frequently asked questions, and then if you have some other question, please shout that out also into the microphone so that people online can hear us. So frequently asked, how do I get space use? So we have a busy building. It is not a safe idea to think that your team can have a meeting here without getting it scheduled ahead of time. But it's easy to get space scheduled. Just reach out to Rosie. Rosie is the keeper of the calendar, and we'll be able to tell you if there's space available and put you on the calendar. Also, if you want to have your meeting on Zoom and use one of the OUUC Zoom accounts, it's also Rosie. So whether it's virtual space or here in the building space for a team or a group to meet, just reach out to Rosie to get scheduled for space use. If you're meeting at a time where the building is locked and you don't have a key, make sure that you communicate that as well. There are a few loaner key cards, or if you're going to be frequently needing access to the building, you can get a key card so that you have access to the building also. But those are things to work out in advance when you make the reservation for space. If you are wanting to do any sort of tabling in the commons on Sunday mornings, that's also not a spontaneous thing to do. We have very crowded coffee hours, and so we're trying to keep it limited to no more than 3 tablings at a time. So I'm the person keeping the tabling schedule. Reach out to me to get scheduled for space for that use. Any other space use questions out there?
I was just spacing out, Sarah. And so you said if we had a space question, we should ask you? Or what did you say?
Well, right now I was soliciting space use questions, but I don't want to answer them in perpetuity. No, if you are wondering about space in general, so Isaac and Rosie would be the people to talk to about space use general questions. They're resource ministry. Isaac, Rosie, and Marie are in the resource ministry. Yeah. Okay. So the other frequent question is about tech stuff and how we use it and whether anybody can use it. So if we're talking tech in this space, this fancy tech, this is not tech that we are having volunteers and renters just attempt to use. So this space and this setup would need to be reserved, including a tech staff person. So that is a bigger hurdle to see whether somebody is available and whether it fits within our budget for those staff hours. So, so this tech setup is just for the tech staff to run. We have other options in the building, including 2 AV carts with TVs that you can bring your own computer and connect to. And we have owls. If an owl is a fancy camera for doing multi-platform meetings. So if you're trying to have a meeting where some of you are on Zoom and some of you are here in the building, we do have that tool for your use. And all of this does require that you bring your own laptop computer. What we don't have are laptop computers that folks can work with. And so if you have a question, like you're not sure if your computer is going to work, if you have the right adapters, et cetera, you can check with a staff person ahead of your meeting and come in and make sure that it's all going to connect and work correctly. Reserving those TV carts is also a question when you're reserving your space. So when you reserve the space with Rosie, you can also reserve a TV cart for that meeting. The ones that are on the schedule with little asterisks next to them mean that they reserved a TV cart. Yeah. Microphones for hearing assistants, et cetera. We have a couple really simple plug a speaker in and have a little microphone that are available for use in classrooms. Or if you wanted to use this system, again, you would have to have a tech staff person. Are there any tech questions? Okay. Money, our favorite. All right, so in general, our budget cycle, we are July to June is our budget year. And so the budgets are set for that time period. When we get into budget request season, that's basically about to be now until January. That's the time for teams to ask for new budget requests. If you have an existing budget and you're working with it, then you've got somebody who is the person monitoring your budget. You would, as a team, decide, some of the teams I know go over their financial reports, their budgets at every meeting and say, how are we doing on our napkin spending? Others maybe are flying a little bit more by the seat of their pants and aren't sure how much they spent on napkins this year. If you're on a team and you're like, oh dear, we don't know where we are on our budget, you can ask Isaac. Isaac is great about getting you your financial report and saying, this is how much money you've spent and this is how much money you have left. And as long as you are spending within your budget, you're golden, right? You budgeted for that, you're staying in it, it's good. If you have an unexpected expense that you weren't expecting, wasn't budgeted for, then you need to talk to first the staff liaison for your ministry area, and it's going to bubble up to the appropriate channels to see, is there any way that this non-budgeted expense can be handled? Maybe yes, maybe no. I can't guarantee how that's going to come out, but start by talking to the staff lead for your ministry area. When we're forming the budget request, most teams will get directly asked, what's your need for next year? And if you're not, reach out again to your staff liaison person and say, hey, we haven't had a conversation yet about our budget. If you want to raise money, we already talked about that. You have to have approval for extra fundraisers, just because we don't want to have willy-nilly fundraisers everywhere. Yeah. If you have spent money for your team and you spent it out of your own pocket, the process for getting a reimbursement is through Isaac. There's a form in the workroom that you can fill out on paper, or he can send you an online form to submit for reimbursement. Any other money questions that I didn't think of? All right, I thought of everything. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So my last one is, how do we get the word out? How are we doing communications? So if you are seeking to get the word out about your events, the primary methods that we have are the Tuesday weekly email. The deadline for submitting an announcement for that is Tuesday at 11 a.m., and you send them to Rosie. Those will probably be edited for length and, because we got to fit a lot of announcements in there. So expect that your words might be edited, but send them on in, and that goes out for the Tuesday email. Other methods that are possible, we have very limited announcements in worship. Those, you can make the request, but if it doesn't fit, it's not going to go in there because we're not going to have a million announcements. But you can make the request, and that would go to Reverend Mary and the worship arts team. The other ways, we have our Facebook and Instagram. And if you want something posted there, go ahead and send it over to people who are on the communications team. So that's me and that's Teresa. So either of us, you can send us that request about the social media.
And I would add that very effective communication happens on the tiny little news show. It gets a lot of views and they're entertaining, and you retain the information after you've seen it. So
Thank you for that, Arlene. Yes, so the Tiny Little News Show is with me, and I would love to have more people either reach out to do interviews with me or just send me your own video clip. It's actually super simple to pull out your own cell phone, record yourself, and just be like, I need more people to bring napkins. I'm still stuck on napkins. And then send me that, you don't have to edit it, you don't have to make it look beautiful. I'll just put it into the Tiny Little News. The other way is that we can have a Zoom meeting and record it, and I can talk to you like an interview, and we can just record it that way. So.
Does the Tiny Little News have the same deadline as the weekly update?
That is a great question, and no, it does not. The Tiny Little News, I put that one wrapped by Sunday evening. So for the next week, the production editing, I have it done by Sunday night. So the deadline to get content to me for the following week would be by Saturday. So send me something by Saturday if you want it in the next week's Tiny Little News that comes out on Monday. Saturday anytime. Yeah. Saturday before the day has switched into saying that it is Sunday. Yeah.
Are these deadlines posted on the OUUC website calendar?
No, and I will take that under advisement to the calendar folks. Yes. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
When you say the deadline is Tuesday for the thing that goes out on Tuesdays, you don't mean the same Tuesday that it's going out.
I actually do mean the same Tuesday that it's going out. Now, just because the deadline is Tuesday at 11 doesn't mean you can't send it in earlier. Rosie would love to have it earlier, but Tuesday by 11 is the latest for it to be squeezed into that day's Tuesday announcements. Yeah. So the other thing that people might do for communications is paper stuff around the building, and we don't want that to be willy-nilly either. So if you're wanting to post things around the building, please talk to the staff about that. Again, it just becomes visual clutter to have a lot of stuff posted everywhere. So please do ask us first.
Curiosity, who is in charge of the calendar And the bulletin board.
The online calendar? No, yeah. Yeah, yes. So the calendar on the website is kept up to date by Rosie. So if you've got a concern about what's posted on the online calendar, reach out to Rosie about that. The bulletin board, the one that we have in the hallway across from Reverend Mary's office, that would also need to have a stamp of approval for posting from Rosie. So if you want to post something there, get Rosie's stamp on it first. Yeah.
And then if you wanted to post something in the Commons on one of the boards there, they would have to go to you, correct?
They would have to come to me, yes. Right now, I am monitoring Commons behaviors. For now. Anything else about communications? Okay, so those were the topics that I anticipated that are frequently asked questions. Now, do we have any infrequently asked questions?
Am I the only person who does have no idea at all how to get to the tiny little news?
I'm sure you're not the only person. That would be very strange. Yeah. So the tiny little news is posted in the Tuesday announcements. So when you are in any of the Tuesday announcement emails, the tiny little news is embedded in there. It's also on our social media, so if you're on Facebook or Instagram, it gets posted there also. So in the announcements, Facebook and Instagram. And
it's the one titled OUUC Weekly Update if you're looking in your email.
And you have to scroll all the way down.
yeah. Oh, I think it is also posted in the Spark. So it gets posted in both emails. So twice a week it's in the email. Yeah.
I don't mean this to be complaining or anything, and I think people are aware, but I have been here a long time, and when I went to reserve a room, I went to the form on the website, only to find out that when it didn't show up on the calendar, Rosie told me that she wasn't getting notified that people were filling out the forms. So I mean, I know you've told us go to Rosie, but I think we need some kind of indication on the web that one needs to also tell Rosie you filled out the form, because they're sitting out there looking like they should be the way to do it. I know she said she checks it, and I did it very last minute, so it was on me, but.
So it's not on you, and it's not complaining, and no. Right, stuff should work. The forms aren't working right now. And we are looking at whether we want to like pull that whole widget out of the website and not use that method anymore. So yes, right now, embedded WordPress forms aren't working very well. Hopefully a fix is coming soon. But for now, yeah, the word is don't trust the forms. Either those of us who are receiving them or those of us who are using them, we're not trusting them right now because they're acting weird. Yeah.
I assume you're talking about the forms we fill out online, and we need to check with the person to make sure they got it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the embedded website online forms that are acting weird. Not the ones that are in Realm, those are acting fine. It's the ones in the website that are not acting right. Yeah. So.
Coming from a non-techie person, is there one particular avenue that, like say, just getting Tuesday the Spark, that would be pretty comprehensive of what's going on? Or is it better to go to Facebook, or?
Is this as for you as a consumer of
Yes,
the information?
as a consumer.
Yeah. So as a consumer of the information, and you really want to keep track of what's happening at OUC, the Tuesday email update is the one-stop shop. Yeah.
And I was looking for some historical stuff. If you are having trouble finding it in your email, there is a place on the website where it goes back a couple years if you think you saw something and you're trying to find it, I've had that trouble. I know it's in my email, but I can't find it. It's on the website, all those weekly updates. I think if you just go to the one that says like what's happening this week or something, and then it says previous,
Yeah.
something like previous versions, but
Yeah. Mhm. Are there any questions online, Carbon? Nope, okay. All right. Anything else while we have? Okay. So, thank you, Arlene, for your help. So this, I'm switching mics, Carbon, sorry. So as I said, this is part of a series of volunteer trainings. So this recording is going to get posted on that Padlet with all of the other volunteer trainings. I'll have another topic for you all next month. And if you have a suggestion for a future volunteer training, please send it over to me. I would love to know what it is that you would like help with, you'd like more information about. It doesn't have to be nuts and bolts like this. It could be something like, we're having trouble with running our meetings effectively, or I'd like more information about facilitation skills, anything. So please do let me know what future volunteer trainings you would like to see. And with that, we will close out today by extinguishing our chalice with these words by Adam Slate. And I need my glasses. We end our gathering with gratitude for camaraderie, shared wisdom, goodwill, and support that we extend to each other within this community. May we continue to bless each other with these gifts, and may we reflect those blessings back out into the world as we minister to those around us. Thank you all so much. Thank you.